Are we recording?
Okay.
Great. Good evening. My name is Erin Stevens. Welcome to the July 7th meeting of the City of Charleston's Design Review Board. Board members present are Ben Whitener, Lucas Boyd, Adriana Carson, Bill Eubanks, and Stephanie Tillerson will be joining us later, I believe. Members of city staff are David Neves and Brad Thomas.
Please turn off.
Making his own entrance. DRB staff. And Catherine Carlson, city clerk. No board members are recused from any of the projects on the agenda. Agenda items number 1, 95 Folly, and number 5, 2274 Clements Ferry have been deferred by the applicants. So we will not be hearing those if anyone is here for anything related to those today. There have been no public comments submitted for this meeting. The order of the meeting will be as follows: introduction of each project by staff, and then presentation by the applicant. You'll be given 10-minute time limit, and if you need additional time, please request it before you begin your presentation. We can grant you an additional 10 minutes if necessary. All presenters to clearly state your name for the record. And at that time, anyone affiliated with the project, any designers, developers, consultants should speak during that 10-minute window. This will be followed by board questions and then public comments. If anyone from the public is here to speak, please clearly state your names for the record. Then that's followed by city staff recommendations, at which time the applicant will be given a chance to respond or clarify to any public or city staff comments. That will be followed by board discussion, at which point the applicant will no longer be able to speak unless they're directly addressed by the chair or a board member. That'll be followed by board motion in a second, and then we will vote. Please turn off all mobile phones and other devices. And just a reminder that comments from the public are limited to site design and architecture only. This board does not have authority over zoning issues such as land use, building density, flooding, or traffic. So with that, we will begin with not number 1, that one's deferred. So we'll start with agenda item number 2, 1919 Maybank Highway, requesting demolition of a portion of the existing 2-story retail building over 50 years old.
Thank you, Erin. We've seen this project already, so that we can step right up. Thank you. Let me know when you'd like me to advance the slides.
Do you need more than 10 minutes?
No,
Okay.
I do not.
Great.
I feel for y'all if I did.
The structural report at the beginning, you want me to go past that?
Yeah, that would be fine. I mentioned that in my presentation. Good evening, everybody. We are happy to be back. Earlier this year, we came before you all to discuss this project during its initial phase. At that time, our proposal included a limited scope of demolition with the intent to preserve as much of the existing structure as possible. Since then, as the project has progressed and we've done more detailed evaluations, we've encountered significant challenges regarding the structural integrity of one half of the building. So just a little history of this building. It initially, you can perhaps go to the next slide. You can continue. Okay, here's a great view of the building close to Maybank Highway. You'll see that half in the hatched section is the original structure. It was built with unreinforced terracotta block, early 1900s. And the second half of the structure was built sometime after that as unreinforced CMU block wall. So specifically, the exterior unreinforced terracotta block walls proven to be a major concern for us. While we initially sought to preserve these walls, we encountered significant difficulties in finding a viable structural solution to reinforce them. And as in the images, you can see these are, I love looking at these images and I love showing these to everybody, but just because you don't ever see terracotta block walls. But after extensive consultations with our engineering team, it became clear that the terracotta block walls cannot be feasibly reinforced to meet, modern safety and stability standards per code. And the nature of the material coupled with its age and condition, it makes it extremely difficult to retrofit it in a way that ensures the long-term structural integrity of the building. Therefore, our updated request includes the following changes to our demolition scope. So you can see in these exterior elevations, everything that's hatched, we propose to demolish. We intend to keep the structural framing of the roof. We also intend to keep the structural integrity of the newer addition, which is the CMU block wall. And wherever we will remove the windows and doors. And you can see at the bottom right corner of the slide, we will be removing that existing exterior covered porch. It has deteriorated beyond reasonable repair, and we will also remove the 2 exterior staircases, which are no longer code compliant, interfere with our revised plans for safety and accessible circulation. That said, we do plan on retaining a portion of the building constructed with the CMU block. We have been able to find ways to reinforce that structure, and it provides a reasonable path for reinforcement in the future. And our structural team, I'm not sure if y'all have seen the structural letter that our engineer drew up. He's confirmed that with appropriate retrofitting, the CMU block wall will meet current safety and code requirements. So I believe I will open it now up to questions and discussion regarding the scope, and thank you all for your time. Thank you.
I work with her. May I say something as well?
Sure, just come up and say your name for the record, please.
My name is Daryl Cobb. I work with Ashley. We didn't discover this until we got to the structural engineering portion of this job. And we tried very hard to figure out a way to reinforce the terracotta walls. The biggest problem is when you put the new wall in front of it to support the floor system, there's no way to connect the stud to the wall. Anything they screw or drill, they believe it will it'll explode or not connect properly. We've also looked at epoxy options, and our engineer, who I've been working with for 25 years, is still not afraid of it, but he says, I can't guarantee it's going to work. And also, when we build the new interior wall, we have to dig a foundation for that because we're sure this foundation won't hold it. And when we do, we're very unsure how to stabilize this terracotta block while we dig that foundation. We don't believe it will survive demolition or the demolition of the floor system or when they go to build the new footing. So I know on the BAR, one of the struggles is, I guess, they're not allowed to see what's going to happen in the future.
And
We're not allowed
supposed
to. We have to think of that as a separate item next.
And when they make a presentation, they always bring that up at the beginning of the thing.
Yes.
I know we're not supposed to talk about it either, but if you look at the next submittal, it comes back exactly as it is with recessed windows. So I just wanted to.
We've all been provided with the packages ahead of time, and we'll vote on them as separate items, so we're not allowed to talk about it now. Thank you.
We didn't realize this till literally the end. We had already went through one structural engineer. He couldn't figure it out. Went to another one that I can figure anything out, and he can't guarantee a solution. So that's why we're here in front of you today.
Thank you. Thank you all. Questions from the board for the applicant?
What are the dimensions of the actual terracotta blocks?
About an 8-inch thick block.
By
12. 8.
Okay,
8 by 8 by 12.
okay.
If you look at it, there's a lot of horizontalness in there, so I don't think you could.
Yeah,
You
there's
couldn't
a-
vibrate concrete down in there.
I wasn't asking for a structural reason,
Yeah.
but we'll wait till the next.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, great. Yeah, sit down. Is there anyone from the public here to speak on this item? All right, city staff recommendations.
Here.
In the ordinance that discusses demolition in the purview of the design review board, it states that the board should consider the architectural and aesthetic features of the structure, the nature and quality of the structure, including the architectural fabric, any historical significance, the nature and quality of the surrounding area, and the structure's contribution to the overall streetscape of the area. The board and staff should only consider the parts of the provided structural report that does not talk about the future renovations and only the parts that speak on the current condition of the building. The original portion of the building being asked to demolish is from the 1940s. As per the architect's explanation to us, the original building is unreinforced terracotta block structure. Existing floor system is wood framed and bears directly on the terracotta block, and the roof system bears on the block wall as well. We knew that the existing terracotta block wall would not support the new floor system, so we were initially proposing to build new structural walls inside both terracotta block and CMU block walls, and let the new walls support the new floor systems and existing roof. Unfortunately, our structural engineers cannot tie the new stud walls into the terracotta block. Given the architect's explanation and the architectural and aesthetic features of the building and lack of historic significance, staff can support the demolition. The staff comment number one is staff does not see this building as architecturally significant. The quality of the building appears to be compromised with the unreinforced terracotta block material used for the walls that is not structurally sound. So we do support this one.
All right, y'all have any clarification or response to comments? Okay, great. All right, y'all are welcome to sit down for discussion now.
Okay.
Although we usually like only demolish if you have to, I think this is a case of have to. I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve, and a second. Any other discussion before we call a vote? Okay. I'll call a vote. Adriana? Ruth?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes, in favor.
I'm also in favor.
Thank you. Lucas was second.
Yes, Lucas was second.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you all.
All right. Now we can talk about what's coming next. Same property, David, you wanna?
Yes, again, we don't have any context slides, but so you can step up and start the
Perfect.
presentation.
And
You know,
this is requesting conceptual approval for the renovation and new addition of an existing retail building.
Conceptual approval round 2.
And do you need 10 minutes, more than 10 minutes for this part either? Okay, great, thank you.
Following our updated demolition submittal, we'll present the conceptual renovation plan for the property. Our goal with this renovation is to transform the current vacant office building into a new market while respecting the original character of the structure. We carefully designed a plan that balances the preservation of key historical features with modern needs, functionality, and code compliance. This slide illustrates the existing images, and like you've seen before, it shows just a little bit of context of the surrounding area. You can proceed to the next slides. Continue. That's the building on the property. Continue. Our new proposed market with an updated parking area. So the key renovation objectives here, the top plan is the demolition floor plan, and the bottom is the new floor plan. Like I said, we got really involved in the construction documents phase, so a lot of our plan information is already there. So this will be a new market, open market area with a bar interior and a prep kitchen on within the side that will be the new structure. So for the exterior walls, while we're demolishing certain sections due to structural concerns, we are committed to retaining the original likeness of the building with the new construction. We'll reconstruct the exterior to maintain the character of the original structure, aligning closely with the architectural style that defines it. This is an existing stucco building, so we are proposing to retain the stucco character and the appropriate thickness and finish. And where we are removing windows or adding new windows and doors, those will be recessed as far back into the building as possible to give you that lovely depth and shadow that we love so much. You'll see what we're demolishing. We are proposing new windows and doors in most locations, original locations. However, where we feel like something needs to be realigned, we're proposing to adjust those in plan. And you'll see that we are adding new shutters back onto the facade with new exterior doors. And on that, I believe it's the west elevation, the bottom left of the presentation sheet. We will be removing windows at the first floor because there is a prep kitchen on the inside. But what we've done is we've recessed some stucco areas with a sill. And you'll see that that translates to all of the windows. There will be no headers. There currently are no headers on the existing elevations, and we will just be doing a window with a sill. So a lot of those will be in the same locations to preserve the building's visual appeal. Where necessary, we'll be shifting windows and doors to accommodate new interior layout. And let's see. We will return to the traditional features of the building, such as the stucco, adding shutters, adding louvers back into the gable ends of the building. And with the exterior porch restoration, we propose adding a new exterior second floor porch, similar in design to the original, which will restore the key architectural feature in the building, and it will enhance the building's visual appeal and contribute to its functional use and offering usable space at the second level. If you go back to the second level floor plan, you will see we have an interior and exterior stair up to additional seating for the market, and there's some offices on the interior. So our proposal includes that new porch addition to allow for seating at the exterior. And everywhere else, you will see, go back to the rendered elevations. The roof, we will be doing repairs as required. We intend to maintain the exposed rafter tail detail throughout the entire building. And where needed for the mechanical screening, we're proposing wood louvers to conceal that area. Let's see if there's anything else. Like Daryl was discussing, another reason why some of this building we need to demolish is because when we go in to remove the existing concrete pad to structurally reinforce the building's foundations, we have concerns about those facades. And it will need to have new building foundations and footings. So I believe I am ready to open it up. Thank you for the consideration.
Thanks. Questions from the board?
Got a few. Did you guys consider doing it out of CMU? Because it looks like it's framed, right?
It is framed.
And the other half is CMU.
The
Right?
other half is
Is that just, so it's stucco on?
stucco
Frame.
on frame.
So we're proposing a wood frame, a 2x6 exterior wood frame and 2x4s at the windows to give the offset.
Mhm.
CMU would just be cost prohibitive, I guess.
That's what our developers are telling us.
It's at request of our developer.
So is it acrylic stucco or are you trying to do 3-coat stucco on frame?
I believe it's
Should
pretty
be
good.
good.
So you're gonna have an expansion joint there if you're going from block to frame.
Mhm.
Probably, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you're gonna see a vertical line going.
That's probably not a bad thing though, because
Well, that's one of the questions I was asking, did you study shifting? Since it is a complete tear down and rebuild.
Right.
well, we're trying to keep the roof exactly where it is
Yeah,
and come out to the edge of the roof. So there probably will be a control joint there, but that might be good in the respect that it kind of defines the old and the new one to a degree. Of course, it'll be there either way, right?
Beyond that, you had mentioned, I did two more. You had mentioned that you were scooching windows a little bit.
Mhm.
Okay. Was there any consideration to putting that central bay in the middle of the building? Or is that prohibitive from a plan perspective?
It's not prohibitive in plan perspective.
But you just wanted to have the same grid as before, I guess.
We were told to leave it as is.
And then the last one was, I can't remember, the first time you guys were around with the design. Do you have a canopy on the front door? Or was it always?
There is no canopy on the front door.
We're just putting a new door in.
Yeah, just a new door.
We've tried to mess.
I mean, in the design presented.
No.
Okay.
And these are operable shutters.
Yes.
And so the idea with the windows is the look will be that they're recessed just as far as the existing are recessed.
Right.
2x4.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, and we could have those details ironed out for the next submittal as well.
We're pretty far along on that, but that's the intent, is that there's a 2-inch recess and then.
I have a question about the parking lot. What material? I see that it's going to be some gravel and some pavement. You know, did you study any like drainage yet on those areas or?
We have not studied any drainage.
No, we've coordinated with zoning on that prior to meeting with you, and this is what they required from us. To get a building permit or to proceed with y'all.
Okay.
At this point, we're not sure what will be paving or gravel, although we know that most of it will be pervious material. And paving where required for handicap accessibility.
How are you gonna edge the parking?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Are you talking for the parking stalls or just the? parking?
Well, I know you're gonna have wheel stops that should define parking
Yep.
spaces,
Mhm.
but the edges, I mean, if it's gravel, you don't want it to just slough off
Correct.
on the, so I was just wondering if there, you know, what kind of edge retention you were doing there.
I don't know. At the last meeting, one of your comments was to provide the wheel stops,
Right.
or I believe it was one of y'all's comments, so we.
This is something we can absolutely get with
Yeah.
our landscape architect on.
Have y'all considered any kind of reuse of your terracotta block in a non-structural way? Just, I mean, because it's such an unusual material.
Once
We
you,
have not.
once you pull it apart, I'm not sure what you're gonna have left.
It is
We're
very
Is,
expecting-
fragile.
is it just gonna disintegrate
It's
pretty
super
much?
fragile, yeah.
Yes, unfortunately.
Did you ever find out why I've never
Nobody knows.
Why what?
terracotta like?
Oh, it was used a ton in 30s,
Yeah.
40s, yeah.
You could crush it and use it as an aggregate.
It's used a lot. It was used a lot for fire too, for interior walls, used for fire protection. But yeah, as soon as you start trying to take it down, it'll crumble.
Is this, I have a question about your site plan. I know you label loading and unloading at the end of that drive, like as you're, and then there's the existing storage building. Is that storage, is the loading and unloading for that storage building or for like, is that storage building part of this project? How's all, what's going on there?
That storage building is actually going to be an additional commercial kitchen where they will be providing most of the food for the market. Because of the size of the proposed market building, they couldn't get all of the kitchen equipment that is required in there.
Okay.
So they are currently proposing to retrofit that existing storage
And will the,
with no changes to the exterior, except for probably a coat paint.
no changes except for what?
Probably
Coat of
coat
paint. And then, so that loading and unloading is to serve that storage building specifically.
Yes. Mhm.
Do we have any images of that? I know you can see it in Google Earth, but it's helpful to see it, especially if that's part of this project.
There was also, if you go to the original site plan, I'm sorry. There was an existing one-story ranch building that you'll see. Plan left to the existing storage building that has been demolished. It's gonna provide a future area for parking. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, the board approved that ranch.
Yeah. were part of that process.
So well, I guess if they're not making changes to the storage building, then is it not something that we're reviewing?
It would be a staff review if they wanted to do that separately. So since it's small, I didn't know that was part of this project either.
And there's no changes to it.
Except for the interior where it's gonna be a kitchen, right?
Yeah, a lot.
But the exterior, if I want, if you
Where
Or
is
you're
that?
just gonna add.
So it'll have a drink
Good.
somewhere.
can see it in street view, because I was looking at it today.
Anything they do to it will be better.
Yeah,
It is.
That's why I'm surprised y'all aren't doing anything to it.
I don't know if my images here capture that building back there.
I think, I don't know if anybody wants to see, who wants to see this? Is this
There.
what you're referring to?
Yeah, you could see it. Yes, I think it'd be helpful for everyone to see that, just that they're not making any changes to the back.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful structure. I mean, you're not putting windows or anything? Wow.
I think they're boarded
Just gonna
up right
keep it
now.
completely closed?
There may be a window, but.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Not too much to tap another than.
Oh. Definitely wanna work in that kitchen.
Did you wanna see, David?
I saw. it.
Okay.
You still in question?
Yes, any other questions from the board? No? Anyone from the public on this part of? No? All right, great. We will move to city staff recommendations.
The applicants are building back to match the existing 1940s building. We're renovating it to a new use and improved appearance, which staff supports. Staff comments number one, provided detail of the low wall on the east side of the building on the site and landscape plan. It's shown on the site and landscape plan. Show this low wall and then elevation detail. Number two, the following staff comments were adopted by the board at the last DRB meeting in March, but have not been addressed yet. Provide real stops in the parking spaces. Number three, staff recommends pervious paving in most of the new parking lot. Number four, staff appreciates the new landscape planting at the front of the buildings. Staff recommends a restudy of the ornamental flowering trees at the front of the building, which will block the entire front facade. Consider instead framing the facade with the ornamental trees. Species not to exceed the height of the existing power lines. Number five, by preliminary review, call out plant species, use as many natives as possible. Number six, add some shrubs to the north side of the existing storage building. Number seven, plan and show where a potential monument sign, if any, is proposed. This will be a separate submittal and review after DRB process, but the location should be anticipated in the landscape plan. Possibly only a faced sign is needed at this location. Facade signs can be planned at a later date. Number eight, note to remove the existing sign post in the front of the building. But we do recommend conceptual approval with the conditions noted and preliminary review by the board.
Thanks. Anything you want to respond to or clarify based on staff's comments? Okay, great. Now we can move into board discussion and motion.
Do you guys think it's important to a little bit more clearly express the difference between existing and new? Besides an expansion joint?
Yeah, that was one of my questions is, did you look into anything a little bit more, not necessarily contemporary, but something that separates it from new to old? And it's just gonna be a vertical expansion joint, no offset from new to old. Why or why not? I guess I should have asked that question. But I think for this building, in my opinion, I feel like for this building, it's kind of a background building that, and they were gonna reuse exactly what was there, that it doesn't really, not really saying you should do that necessarily, even if that was a historic building.
And the old part is an addition.
Right,
To
right.
what
So it was in
we
addition to what they're
demolished.
tearing
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I do think though that if you're going back with a different structure, you gotta be cognizant of the thicknesses of the stucco, what kind of stucco you have, because you're going from a two coat direct apply to block. And then you're doing, I hope it's not acrylic, but if it's acrylic, that's a lot thinner. And if you're framing it, and it can look different, the texture could look different. So, I would say definitely looking at those details, we should make sure that if we're trying to go back like it was, that the texture of the stucco should look as close to the same as possible. I think it'd be a lot easier to do with block, reinforced block and keep the windows rather than having to figure out what detail you got to add to the 2x6 frame. But, I think as long as they meet that, the windows are recessed and it looks like it should, I'm okay with it personally. I do think if there is an expansion joint there though, you've got to think about how it's going to be detailed, because that's going to be clearly, from bottom to top. And not just a gray colored 2-inch ceiling joint. Anyway, those are my opinions.
Really supposed to take, it kind of depends on what attitude, to answer your question, you come to this with, because we've approved demo of the thing without quote unquote seeing the blank next. So there's no mandate the mandate to rebuild back what's been is kind of self-imposed by the
Right.
ownership team or the architect. So if you're asking me, yeah, I would love to see something contemporary and a nice hyphen and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's their prerogative, so they've elected to kind of recreate what's been. And knowing that, I think you'd want to subvert that connection as much as humanly possible, which could be a construction joint.
They're doing, yeah.
I guess. But I agree. I think it's screaming to be a block building. It's stucco. It is block. It's going beside a block building. But I don't think that's our purview, is it?
No, it's a detailing nightmare, but that's up to them.
Oh yeah, that's like building science
Yeah.
thing, but yeah. But I'm in the same camp as you.
Motion for conceptual approval with staff comments. I did have one question about staff comments first, though, David.
Yeah, I think
Number 6 on staff do you have something else to say?
well, go ahead.
Number 6, I doubt they can put shrubs in that area where the loading and unloading is going.
Yeah, I wasn't
Front
sure
of
where
the
the
kitchen.
entry is either.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask.
It looks like there's an entry here. You see my cursor?
Yeah, there's entry right there,
And it's,
and there's an entry on the side.
And I was asking for shrubs right here.
Where there's
that's
not
where
enough-
that's where that roll up door is. it
Yeah.
looks
Okay.
like.
Yeah, it didn't look like when I.
Okay.
But it's only on half of it, and then the other half, there's like a concrete pad out front. You can see the
Right.
roll up door there to the left.
Roll up door.
I guess shrub it where you can.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think it's crying out for some big volume.
shrub where you
You need
can.
something.
But anyway, did you have something to add?
Well, I think, I don't know, Bill, if you wanted to elaborate on your questions about edging and all, but,
Board comments?
yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we just need more detail on the materials for the paving area, and if it is gonna be an aggregate, require edging. of it.
There you go.
So,
Staff comments 1 through 8, board comment. Details for edging, provide, study details for edging in the parking lot.
well, provide more information on proposed materials for the parking
parking
lot,
lot.
and where it is aggregate, provide edging.
Beautiful.
Any other comments? Bill?
Anything else, guys?
Okay, so we have a motion for conceptual approval with staff comments 1 through 8 and board comment to provide additional information on materials for the parking lot and where it is aggregate, provide edging. And do you want me to say?
I would say show us what you've thought about with the expansion joint and stucco.
And
That, how is that gonna look?
elaborate on the,
Study that detail.
What I think I'll do is offset the wall to give you a relief where it turns in. You see what I'm saying? I'll take the stud and I'll push it back in a couple more inches. That way the existing CMU wall comes and turns into the new wall.
And you
So
can keep
there's
the
a
roof
separate-
line where it is.
Sir,
And you can keep the roof line where you can keep the roof structure
that-
where it is.
that-
Yeah.
I think that would be the easiest way to accomplish it. Because it doesn't, we don't really, I don't think it warrants a connection piece like you'd see in a, like,
well, we can't get into
you know,
details.
It's
You
okay.
can show us.
We can
next
just say
week.
study,
Yes.
you just say study that
We can
detail.
Study next time. We can
Show us next time what.
Ask you a question for staff comment number 2. I'm a little confused because you asked for provide will stops in the parking spaces, but on A2, they're showing will stops.
They aren't in their site plan,
we're shipping.
On A2, they're showing it, the will stops.
but they're not in their
But
land.
Yeah.
it's not on the landscape
So
plan.
they just need to move it because they're showing it on
So it
A2,
just need to be
but it
consistent.
just needs to be
Needs to be
consistent.
coordinated.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, yeah, you just have it, you have it on, like, on plan A2, but not L1.
Okay. So, should I repeat that for clarity?
Sure.
Okay. So we have a motion for conceptual approval with staff comments 1 through 8. I think we don't need to clarify 2, it just needs to show up. in-
Yeah, it's just on the proposed site plan on one, not on
So-
landscape plan.
Staff comments 1 through 8, board comments to provide additional information on the materials for the parking area and where it's aggregate, provide edging. And to study the joint detail between the two structures. And okay, we have a second.
Second,
Okay, second by Bill. All right, and I'll call for a vote. Adriana? For me. Stephanie? Lucas?
Yes, in favor.
And I'm also in favor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so. Now we'll move on to item 4, which is preliminary approval for a 4-story multifamily development with 62 units. Are you gonna introduce it or?
I've got no context slides. You can get one up.
Thanks, Dave.
And will you need more than 10 minutes to present?
We shouldn't, no.
Okay, thank you.
Let me know when you'd like me to advance the slides.
If you can go ahead to the updated elevations. That'd be great. So we're gonna be relatively fast here tonight.
Oh, yes, please state your name.
Oh,
for
I'm
the
sorry.
record.
Chad Askew with Housing Studio, we're the architect for the project. So we had several comments. We had 3 staff comments from our previous meeting with you guys a couple of months ago, and thanks again for being here and letting us come before you tonight to address those comments. 2 of those, we just, immediately, we have just addressed, just as you as a board asked us to. One is that we did reintroduce the transom windows back to the 4th floor where they were shown on conceptual. They were taken off on the last hearing, which was preliminary, but we ended up doing a conceptual reapproval due to some changes that were out of our control. But we have brought those back. I think we agree that that's a stronger solution. The other comment that we sort of basically just directly addressed per your feedback was we did simplify and select one fiber cement material or trim detail. We've gone ahead and used the reveal trim detail for all of the building instead of just the upper floors to simplify and clarify that. And then David, if you don't mind switching to one of the rear elevations, go one more. You can see on the rear elevation as well that it's hard to see on these because the detailing of that batten strip versus the reveal trim is just hard to see at the scale. But we have brought that down. And then the other thing you'll see here that we also did is that we did bring the brick up to the base of the third story windows consistently around the back of the building as the board requested. The one comment that the board had made here, and I have to apologize because I think in summarizing my comments in the submittal package, I think I misread and misunderstood that comment in there, but I want to share with you, David, if you don't mind going back to that first elevation. Oh, no, that one right there is good. So on the far right-hand side, that the first bay there, the windows on the far right, we had not connected the first and second floors, and I know that's something that the board commented on, they'd like to see those connected throughout the project, and we've done that everywhere except in this location. And we've still not shown that. If the board feels strongly about that and would like to make that a condition for approval of preliminary, we can make that change. But David, if you don't mind going back a few more slides to the renderings, there's something that I think is apparent in the renderings. Go to the first one, go back. There we go. This corner piece here, which you don't see in elevation, but the way that you view this building as you come down Maybank and you turn onto Promenade Vista, you're going to see this corner holistically. And on the right-hand side, that's actually unit entry with a canopy, which really precludes us from being able to connect the first and second floors. And because we had that detail there, it looked peculiar to connect to that, and we had left that separated. What we had tried to do at this corner was leave that separation at the first and second floors just in this area, so that as you read this corner elevation, that it's consistent and symmetrical about that corner entry condition. So that's why we left that way. I think that when that was discussed in the previous hearing, it was in board member discussion, so we couldn't give you any insight on that. But that's why we chose to leave that one location the way we did. We're happy to revisit or adjust that if you guys feel strongly about that. Those are really the architectural comments that the board presented to us. I'm going to ask Colleen with Seaman Whiteside to come up here and address landscape items really quickly. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Colleen Williams, System Wi-Fi, landscape architect. Will you go to the slide kind of at the beginning that has the previous and proposed site plan?
Sure.
So the last
At
time,
the beginning,
I think
Yeah.
it's close to the beginning.
It's right after the standard, the corner that he just talked about. It's right before that. Sorry, it's before. Yeah.
There
right
it is. So the last time we came before the board for preliminary approval, we had made some significant changes to the rear of the site. We had kind of a meandering trail in the back that worked its way through our existing tree save. That was updated to accommodate required fire retention area in the back. So the biggest comment that came from staff and the board was to study activating that space a little bit more. So we put a pervious trail kind of winding through the tree save. You can see it in the southwest corner there, right there. Yep. So it kind of walks up to the base of the fire retention area. I think staff asked for a bench to view the fire retention area, so we've added that. And then the other big note, I think the board had a comment to study putting a boardwalk in and around the fire retention area. I don't think that we're going to be able to do that just for cost implications and the size of that site, but the last comment we had was to study putting palm trees on the Promenade Vista side, and we've added, I think, 4 along that side. Changes.
Thank you. Board questions for the applicant?
What is your pervious path?
Right now, it is, I believe it's mulch. Because it's a kind of a natural tree state area, so the intent is that it feels essentially like you're walking in the woods.
Have board comment or questions?
What's the retaining wall construction? In the back?
Oh, it's a block retaining wall? Yeah, it's a block retaining wall.
I actually had a question on that wall, same wall as well.
There are
That you
some
can see here. I didn't find in the set how high this wall is, and I was wondering if it maintains a consistent height from the top of the wall to the low side of the wall, or has that been determined yet?
Daniel Etheridge, the engineer, it is consistent except where it tapers on the edges.
And about how tall is it from the top of the wall?
Yeah, about 2.5 feet.
Okay, good. Pretty minimal. Thank you.
I know there were details of the block in the,
It was kind of generic details. It didn't give out.
but it showed the material. I was just saying if they wanted to.
Just wasn't sure if it's some brick too, it looked like the rendering showed a little brick.
Ben, are you talking about that wall?
Yeah.
I do the trails.
I wasn't sure.
The trails.
The trail, so there's.
Yeah, it looks like it's rendered like
Back
it's
to the site,
5
and
feet
then
tall.
Yes, the trail
Oh,
that goes through the trees.
Yeah, let's make sure we're all talking about the same wall. Yeah.
This wall, yeah.
that wall's 2.5 feet tall?
So the rendering is
Rendering
misleading,
off, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Other questions from the board?
So the path. I know that that's kind of a TRC issue, but is the path ADA compliant?
The previous house will not be ADA compliant now. If it's mulch.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, when they go to TRC, they will make them change it.
Yeah.
To something more compliant to ADA.
But the main path though is some of the
It's
material.
concrete.
It's
So the main
concrete.
path around the site is concrete.
Yeah,
So that's
concrete.
ADA compliant.
Is TRC gonna make?
Yeah, the other little section, they may or may not,
Section
yeah,
that
right,
maybe it's not ADA accessible, I
Right.
think would be fine.
right, because you have the main one is ADA.
I think that if the board would like to maintain the bench there for viewing, that we would have to make it accessible, so it'd have to go to like a.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
provide such a brick.
That
or
approach,
something
plantation.
like that. If we took the bench
Okay.
out, it could probably be mulch, but I know that's something.
Yeah, we would like to see the bench things.
Give me that bitch.
Other questions from the board? Anyone from the public here? Thanks, Steph. Project team, all right, move into city staff recommendations.
Thank you. Aaron. Staff supports the changes made, feels the building design has made positive progress. The added transom windows are a big plus to the building appearance. The consistent levels of the brick on the building front and on the back is better. The paneling at the top floor looks nice. The landscape plan is improved with the added path and bench. Staff comment one, staff can accept the applicant's responses to the previous board and staff comments on page 2 of the drawing set. And number 2, in the renderings provided, the vents on the facade are to be hooded vents. Please remember that DRB has a policy of using flush mounted vents. And we do recommend preliminary approval.
Anything you want to clarify from board comments? Okay, great. Let's move into board discussion.
I applaud the changes that you made from the last meeting. I guess the upper level is definitely a more clear material selection, simple but elegant, and increasing the brick height so it's more of a continuous band around the building helped a lot, I think, from the staggering up and down. Yeah, I didn't have, I guess the only comments that I had, I was questioning how a retaining wall would look with block, in that location. And if it is that high, I guess staff needs to review if it is going to be 5 or 6 feet high. We need to, brick would look a lot better, especially since it's on the corner there.
To match the base.
Yeah. No, I didn't have any other comments other than that.
I agree. I appreciate your explanation of the, not getting the window vertically. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it wouldn't, I don't think I would have seen it unless you explained it like that. And I think it is a natural, stop point for it. That corner can kind of stand on its own. It almost looks civic, the corner, which it arguably should.
It's a knuckle. It's the architectural word.
So yeah, I don't really have any comments beyond that.
I think it's a pretty logical extension of phase one. I actually wondered how the heck y'all were ever gonna do a building on that little piece that was left over. It's a tough one. In the interest of transparency, I was the landscape architect for phase one when I was with Seaman Whiteside.
Oh,
I would like to see the path be ADA compliant.
So do we have a motion?
Motion for preliminary approval with staff comments 1 and 2.
I second.
Board comment.
Oh.
Board comment for the pervious path to be accessible.
Is final review by staff?
And do you want to,
View by staff.
did you want to add a comment about the wall, the
Yes,
site wall?
I guess, well, staff's gonna be reviewing that detail.
But if you are like to see brick, you should say that.
I got you. Yeah, so I'd say if it's greater than 2 feet, the material should change to brick masonry.
I think regardless.
I think you should match the base.
You wanna match the brick?
Yeah.
Okay, match the brick.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
So we have a motion for,
So brick only on the exterior of the retaining wall, brick veneer on the block.
Is that our comment ADA? Cause that will, or is that, we can,
we can recommend a material. I don't
It's
think we
it's
should
just a
say.
material, so
Yeah.
it can be decomposed granite or
no,
something.
I know that, but
That's material, just, or we can recommend material, but not ADA, but if they put a bench there, TRC is gonna recommend
Yeah.
that they use some material to make it ADA. So if we want to be specific about the material, then we can.
Would you like to be specific about?
or some ADA compliant.
An ADA compliant
Material.
material.
Okay,
Just
Yeah.
not mulch.
so we have a motion for preliminary approval with staff comments 1 and 2 and board comments to use an ADA compliant material for the pathway in the back and to use a brick veneer on the sidewall to match the building.
Final review by staff.
Final review by staff.
Beautiful.
Is there a second?
Yes,
Second. Yeah.
Very
second.
Yeah.
All right, now I'll call for it. Stephanie?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
Also in favor. Thank you.
Yeah.
Item 5 was deferred by the applicant, so now, we just have to approve the minutes from the June 2nd meeting. Steven, move to approve this?
Wasn't here, so.
Oh, no.
I will make a motion
Okay,
to approve the minutes from the June 2nd meeting.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion for approval, Adriana,
Yes.
Stephanie? Ben?
Yes, I wasn't.
Also,
I know.
Okay, great.
I did watch it.
Passes.
Though.